How is this game going to end? If you've seen the footage, it begins by showing Kraven the hunter. He'll be important later, but for now, just keep him in the back of your mind. But then it shows Peter jumping out of a basement and he already has the black suit. And seeing this, you would be led to believe that Peter had just obtained the Venom Symbiote and this is his first time really using it. This is the first time Miles sees Peter with it on, and Miles, as we know, is Peter's spider partner in this series. So for this to be the first time he's seeing it, it can only mean that Peter hasn't had it on for very long, right? Well, I have reason to believe Peter's had the symbiote for much longer than we're being led to believe. How do I know this? Well, if you pay close attention to the way Peter behaves during this teaser compared to the first two games, you can see a very clear and obvious difference. He's just a lot more aggressive, harsh, like he's not holding back anymore. He throws the people he saves on the ground and doesn't even stop to see if they're okay. And he basically just completely disregards Miles and even treats him like a burden at times when Miles is just trying to help him. So yeah, he's definitely different, a lot more jerky, but what does that have to do with the Venom suit? Well, usually when the Venom symbiote gets put on Peter, there's a delay of maybe a couple days to a week before Peter actually starts feeling the effects of the symbiote, i.e. So that right there shows us that since Peter is already getting influenced by the suit, that must mean that Peter by this point in the game has already had the symbiote for at least a few days to a week. I mean, from what we've seen in the previous games, Peter and Miles work largely together, so how could Peter have possibly hid the suit from Miles for this long? Well, that's a question I don't have the answer to right now, but I can go ahead and answer one question you may be having right off the bat. How does Peter get the symbiote? In the previous game, we see Venom in a green chamber with Harry, presumably keeping him alive. I think at some point early in the game, Harry is let out of this chamber, and it's initially attached to Harry, before somehow making its way onto Peter. Theory number 1. The final boss is actually Peter corrupted by Venom. I actually think it's very likely that we'll end up fighting Peter as the final boss. But anyway, in this theoretical boss fight, Miles ends up taking on the Venom symbiote himself. I don't exactly know how he would do this, but if he does do it, he could very easily defeat Venom by using his electricity. Another way that's a bit unlikely but could very well happen is if Insomniac decides to go the Eddie Brock route, where Peter just eventually expels the Venom symbiote from his body and it somehow ends up on Eddie. Now, the third and final way this game could end is the most dramatic, and I'm sure most people don't want this to happen, and I agree, but after looking at the implications it could have on the story, I kind of think it may be one of the best ways they could go. What if Insomniac just decides to kill off Peter entirely, leaving Miles as the sole survivor? Now, I know how crazy it sounds, but just bear with me. If Peter were to die or just be out of the picture in some way, we could explore avenues in the story that we aren't normally able to. For instance, Miles and Harry. We've never seen them work together or even meet as far as I'm concerned, so this could be a good opportunity. Also, something that may not even matter in this universe, but I still wanted to point it out, is the Spider-Verse movie. And also, for basically the entirety of the Spider-Man Miles Morales game, aside from a few cutscenes, Peter's gone, on a business trip in Simcario with MJ, leaving Miles as New York's only Spider-Man for the duration of that game. So that could have been Insomniac getting us used to Miles being the only one. I don't know for sure, but if this is the case, it would totally make sense. Of course, make sure to leave a comment if you disagree with that.